Today, we're diving into a playbook that tackles a massive problem for our entire economy: why so many skilled apprentices are dropping out before they finish. It's a real crisis, and this report we're looking at offers a super clear four-part strategy for success.
And this, right here, is the central question. It's what keeps industry leaders up at night. We're pouring all this time, money, and energy into training the next generation of skilled workers, so why aren't more of them making it to the finish line? What's going wrong?
Well, a brand new report from the specialists at Apprenticeships Are Us has really put this whole issue under the microscope. And what they've come back with is this incredibly detailed, evidence-based playbook that gives us a clear path forward. So let's walk through what they found.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll dig into the dropout crisis itself. Then, we'll talk about a new way to think about financial incentives. Third, we'll cover the absolutely crucial role employers have to play. And finally, we'll look at the actual strategy to make all this change happen.
So, let's get right to it and start with part one, identifying the core challenges that are pushing apprentices out the door in the first place. The entire solution in this playbook is really built on four main pillars. First, creating incentives that are actually focused on retention. Second, providing real cost of living support. Third, boosting the skills and capabilities of employers. And finally, establishing early intervention systems to catch people before they fall. All of these are connected, and they really form the foundation for everything else.
All right, let's tackle that first pillar, money. The report argues we need a fundamental shift in how we think about financial incentives. It's time to stop just rewarding people for starting an apprenticeship and instead really focus on what it takes to get them all the way to completion.
And the evidence for why this is so important is, well, it's pretty stark. The report says it loud and clear. Financial stress is one of the biggest predictors of a person's overall well-being. If an apprentice is constantly worried about making rent or paying their bills, their odds of actually finishing their training just plummet.
So, how do we fix it? Well, the policy ideas here are very specific. Instead of a single payment up front, they're proposing milestone payments. You get paid at the end of year 1, year 2, and of course, at completion. They also recommend targeted top-ups for apprentices from low-income backgrounds and even continuation bonuses for the employers who stick with them. It's all about rewarding progress and, most importantly, completion.
But the report makes a really crucial distinction here. Those big picture incentives are great, but you can't ignore the day-to-day financial reality these apprentices are facing. We have to look at the other side of the coin, which is just the basic cost of living. And to understand that reality, just look at this number. A staggering 83% of apprentices are still living at home. Now, that's not just a lifestyle choice. It's a huge indicator of financial vulnerability. It means most of them just can't afford to live on their own. And that creates this immense pressure that really limits their options. To deal with that head-on, the report recommends direct, practical support. Things like subsidies for travel and relocation, making sure tool grants actually keep up with inflation, and even helping with utility bills for those few apprentices who are managing to live independently. The report's point is that these aren't welfare issues anymore. They are critical workforce policy issues. Okay, so we've covered the money side of things pretty thoroughly. But as we all know, cash isn't everything. That brings us to the third pillar of this playbook, which focuses on the workplace itself and the absolutely critical role that the employer plays. And here's where it gets really fascinating. The report highlights a powerful finding. Work satisfaction is the single strongest predictor of a person's overall life satisfaction. Think about that. More than an apprentice's background, more than their demographic, it is their day-to-day experience on the job that determines whether they're going to succeed. This means we have got to equip employers to be better mentors and managers. So the report calls for things like funded training programs for supervisors, an accreditation system that recognizes employers who have great support practices, and even award schemes to celebrate businesses with really high retention rates. It's all about building a culture of support from the top down. And the final piece of this big puzzle is being proactive. It's not enough to just create a good environment and hope for the best. We also need systems in place to catch apprentices when they start to struggle before it's too late to help.
This is where data-led early intervention comes in. The playbook suggests creating things like flexible hardship funds, providing dedicated case management for apprentices who are more vulnerable, and setting up clear partnerships for mental health support. And, crucially, using digital dashboards to track all of this to make sure help gets where it's needed and fast.
So, we have the four pillars of the solution. But, a plan is only as good as its execution. And that brings us to the final section, the actual strategy for turning all these ideas into reality with a concrete 18-month roadmap.
And the report doesn't just offer up ideas and walk away. It provides a clear engagement strategy. This is not some vague wish list. It is a phased plan with short, medium, and long-term actions, all mapped out over the next 18 months.
Let's quickly walk through it. In the short term, the first 3 months, it's all about getting the word out, right? Briefing ministers, presenting to industry. Then, in the medium term, from months 3 to 9, the focus shifts to building momentum, expanding the data, forming partnerships, and proposing some pilot programs. And finally, in the longer term, the goal is to fully embed this data into our workforce modeling and actually get those pilot programs funded and off the ground.
So when you put it all together, when you step back and look at the whole picture, the message from this report becomes crystal clear. There is no silver bullet here. Solving the apprentice retention crisis isn't about picking one solution. It's about having a holistic strategy that addresses the finances, the workplace culture, and proactive support, all at the same time.
So, the plan is on the table, the evidence is compelling, and the steps are all laid out. And that leaves us with one final and really vital question. Is this comprehensive, 4-part playbook the key to finally securing our future skilled workforce?